81% of consumers in 2025 need to trust a brand in order to consider buying from it. Gabe, why do you think that is? What do you think about that?
Well, it's definitely absolutely true. I was just having a conversation with one of our longtime vendors, and somebody it's a company of a friend of mine, and I've been working with them for coming up on 14 years.
Wow.
And so when I think about branding, it's about the consistency of how you show up across the board. It's not just what you're putting on social media or just your emails or just how you do discovery calls or do customer service or your product or service. It's the whole picture. And when people see you consistently talk about the same thing, the same themes, the same focus, like how you help, they see, your wins, your results, your customer testimonials. Those are like little teeny building blocks in building the foundation of trust, and brand is about, trusting somebody, right?
Yeah.
And so I know when I open, my new Apple product box, I know what's going to be inside. I've done it so many times, and their ads look like that. I know what their, customer service experience is going to be like. Just like there's a couple of restaurants that my wife and I go to, and we've been going to them for years because every time we walk in, it's consistent. And so their visuals, their delivery of their product or service, what they speak about, what they stand for, is consistent. And yeah, brand is everything. And that's why as when we're in startup mode or growth phase, it's important to be careful that you don't distract yourself and get sidetracked and do what I've done before. All of us have done it as entrepreneurs and business owners. Don't chase too many directions or have that shiny object syndrome, because you're destroying your brand. When today you're posting that you help, health and fitness coaches with their thing, and tomorrow you talk about something completely different.
Yeah.
If there's context for like a base kind of theme foundation that you do something that serves all those spaces, people start to distrust you because they're like, oh, so and so is doing something different again. So brand trust is absolutely crucial.
Yeah, it really is. And of course, you guys know me, Nathan Gibson, here with Gabe Arnold. So thanks for tuning in today. We have some really cool stuff to talk about when it comes to building that trust in a brand, right? And another thing that ties into that we talk about all the time, Gabe, is how important value is, especially when it comes to marketing products and services. So you think of things like, when you think of value, you think of things like speed, convenience, innovation, reliability. But, huge but on that, honestly. No matter what the value is in what you offer, it's vital to establish authority, right? You have to know what you're talking about to be able to sell things, or else people won't trust you. Authority and trust go hand in hand. That's something you've taught me over the years from a marketing perspective, a sales perspective, and a business perspective, right? So what are your thoughts on like tying in authority when you're building trust in your brand?
Yeah, so one of the things that we kind of already touched on is that building a brand is about intentionally serving your audience, your customers, your vendors, your team, honestly, everybody you interact with as a business, with valuable microtransactions. And what I mean by that is if somebody is going to take the time to click and read more on one of my Facebook posts, then I have a responsibility to deliver them value. So it may be insight on, some leadership things to pay attention to when you're growing your company. It may be talking about, offer construction and like components to pay attention to. That person is giving me their time. They're giving me their most valuable thing. And so if I want them to continue to be in my world and me be able to serve them, and, our business be able to serve them, then I have to deliver value back. And that's just with content. And so when we look at, the aspects of what do you need to do to have authority, having authority is because you actually know what you're talking about. Like you said, you've actually done the work, you have provable real world experience. You also can have authority by talking about what you're learning and the mistakes you're making, because that's transparent and honest, and you're giving value. I post about dumb things I've done or mistakes I've made, and I'm providing value because, like, if you really read it and listen to it, then maybe you can avoid at least part of the mistake I made, right?
Yeah.
That's a big piece of, like, having authority is really being yourself and just being honest about where you are. Because if we fake it and pretend, like, I'm not going to pretend in the season of BME that we're a $100 million company.
Right. It wouldn't serve you well.
We're not there yet. Like, we'll be there someday. So I'm not going to fake it there. And then people can instantly kind of smell, feel, understand, like, oh, that's not quite right. and neither do I need to downplay. Like,
Right.
we're really successful. We've been for years been doing 7+ figures. We're growing. I'm going to talk about where I really am. And when I see people in the startup phase, if they want authority, the best way to do that is to be transparent and honest about, we're a small team. Here's what we do. And you know what's unique about us? We deliver amazing customer service because we're a small team and we talk about every account every day. Like, it's
Yeah.
an example of that. And so that brings authority. Authority comes, with the trust of those microtransactions, and it comes from real authenticity, because it's so refreshing to talk to somebody that's just honest about where they're at, what they can help with, and what they can't help with. There's a handful of things that we
Yeah.
just don't do at BME. Like, we don't install sales teams in our clients, companies. Not that, like, in the past we haven't played with that stuff or helped other people do that, but we're not good at that. So I'm just going to say we're not good at that. And then they're like, oh, cool, I can trust you because you're actually honest about the things you don't do either.
Yeah, and I think that's really important. And something that you said really kind of struck a chord with me. When somebody comments on your post or interacts with something that you do, you have a responsibility to show up and serve them. Dive into that a little bit. Tell me about like why that's so important of like when it comes to building trust and authority of like if somebody does take an action that you want, why is it important to be responsible and show up and serve them, even if it's just from a Facebook comment?
Yeah, because, like I said, it starts with, I'm asking somebody to stop their scrolling, spend time and read something, and whatever time they choose to spend on social media is fine. But
Yeah.
if they're going to interact with me, they're reading my words, they're connecting to who I am. And so if I'm going to do that, then I'm responsible to show up and give, education, inspiration, value, teaching, service, an honest story about what happened, or like something that maybe I'm researching or exploring and maybe I have new insights on.
Mm-hmm.
Because otherwise, like, there's so much noise and garbage in the world in general. And there's just so much, brain rot, as my son calls it, and his generation,
There you
all
go.
sorts of things about the brain rot that goes on. That doesn't help you. That's just pure fast food content, right? It's not,
Yeah.
if you eat enough of that, you'll get sick. Um, and so I have a responsibility to deliver something of value. And the challenge for me has been, I am, a polymath. I love all sorts of things. I have all different knowledge. That's just who I am as a person. But I've been learning in this season that it's important that I focus my intention and the framework of the content that I put out there, so that I can just focus on one aspect that would be valuable to the people that follow me. And I may not talk about all the spirituality things I'm working on personally, or I may not get really deep into quantum computing, or I may not just mainstay on leadership. I do talk about leadership a lot because that's is ultimate leverage in
Yep.
life and business. But I'm learning myself in this season to like focus my content and focus on one aspect of how I want to serve right now. And so we have a responsibility to bring value into the world. And if you don't approach it that way, then it's a waste of time. It's a waste of time for you because you're not focused on like the true intention. And it's a waste of time for your readers. And the last thing I'll say on that is, one of the best things I've learned over the years is, when I sit down to write, I write for one specific client, like a specific person that I really
Mm.
enjoy working with, because then it's targeted at them. And I'm not like splintering my focus and thinking, well, I want Nathan to get value out of this, as a leader inside a business. And I want my startup client friend to get value from it. And I want, one of my clients that has a $20 million business to get value out of it. I don't fracture my attention. I focus on one specific real person. And then I know it's easier for me to deliver value that way.
Yeah, and I think that's so important because that's actually something I wanted to dive into today and give people some actual like tips on building authority in their brand, because we've been doing it for almost 20 years now, you know what I mean? We've helped a lot of people build that authority and trust in their brand that people can rely on. And we're talking about content, right? And so one of the things I wanted to touch on was creating content that actually matters, right? Not everything needs to be a sales pitch, Gabe. You and
Yeah.
I have to like teach people that these days. People aren't looking for more noise. Like you said, there's a lot of noise in the realm of marketing, the realm of business, everywhere with the ease of access for information these days. So, what are some tips you would have for folks, business owners, anybody on creating stuff that's actually like valuable to people? Since you're in a phase where you're focusing even more on that.
Yeah. So if I start with that foundation, and like I said, this has worked well for me. I've heard other, business owners, entrepreneurs, and amazing copywriters that are far more skilled than I am talk
Hmm.
about write and speak to the one real person. So if I think about, as an example, one of our clients that runs a large home services company and does really high-end, beautiful remodeling and additions and just beautiful work. So if I think about them and I know that they, that type of person, needs marketing support, needs technology services, then I can start to think about like what's the life cycle of somebody in the home services space solving marketing and technology problems and trying to level up and grow their business. Then I can say, okay, well, I know in home services, like typically email lists are underutilized and they're leaving revenue on the table. So I'm going to talk about, a cadence of how to send email. And then I can even give some structure and format, like open this way, talk about these things. Here's a structure. So then I can talk about email. Then I can say, okay, like from a technology standpoint, because marketing and technology are super intertwined, if not feels like sometimes almost the same thing these days.
Yin and yang, honestly.
Yeah. Then I can say, okay, well, I've talked about email. Now, what do we talk about? Like the speed of their website and how 80% of traffic on pretty much in every industry, web traffic is from mobile. So I can then speak about, let's look at your mobile and like, is it working well on mobile? Is the speed there? And then we can go into content and I can pretty quickly just paint the whole picture of like, I have a specific person, like a real person that I've known, met, talked to. I'm writing for that or creating the video for that. And then I can say, if I got to spend, a month straight with them, just sitting down with them and working through everything, what would be the menu of items? Where would I start? And then I just write to that person and let's talk about email marketing and mobile optimization and SEO and social media and how to write offers, that will convert, and what other kind of customer engagement you can do and before and after pictures. Like I've got a year's worth of content if I sit down for an hour or two and just really think about, here's everything I want to teach my great friend and my client, somebody that I get to work with every day. How would I approach that? And then that way you're really building value and you're giving insight, instruction. Of course you can make the offer, and you shouldn't say like, if you need help with email marketing, talk to BME. We love it. We've been crushing it. We've been doing that for years. It's like one of my first loves. So you can make the offer after I educate them and show them how to do it themselves if they want, and they'll really trust me because I've sent millions and millions and millions and millions of emails. I don't know how many anymore.
I wonder how many actually.
Experience. So that's kind of how I think about like putting together content that builds trust and authority, and you really speak to a specific person, and that way you're solving a problem for a real person, and you don't get too broad or generalized.
Yeah, and that's actually, I think that's so important because that covers something else I wanted to pick your brain about today, and that's offering a unique perspective. We talk a lot even today about the noise that's everywhere and just the overwhelming amount of information in different perspectives. What's some advice you would have for the average business owner trying to just get out there and offering like a unique perspective or differentiating themselves from other people in their industry?
Yeah, this is like really well-timed questions for me today, Nathan. So, what I've always struggled with is like, there's like a double-edged sword of being the entrepreneur and being one of the experts in your business and leading. That I have deep and vast knowledge, and I have 50,000-60,000 hours in my craft. Like I've spent a lot of time in it, and so like we could talk ad nauseum about the smallest detail of something to the biggest broad scopes.
Yeah.
And so I've gotten kind of lost and stuck about like, what do I write about next, or moving all over. And so when I talk about choosing one real person, that focuses me. The other thing that I've recently been experimenting with, and I love, it's really helping me, is to kind of ground me into the same process and pattern. I'm doing a social media series right now called For Those That Play the Long Game. And so every post opens up for those that play the long game. I just wrote one that said, your word is your brand. Talk about integrity and consistency and a lot of things we're talking about here. So I've created this like framework and this trigger for myself that goes, oh, for those that play the long game, this is how I view business and marketing. Whatever. I can get into the same mode. And then in addition, I actually used AI to have this conversation with myself and go, oh, this is like what I want. AI can be a great mirror.
It can.
In addition, I chose that phrase because that is a core belief of who I am. I always play the long game. I'm an investor in every sense of the word. I love investing in people. I'm going to invest in my business, and we're going to invest with our client partnerships. Hey. Invest in Nathan. So far it's working out well. I get good returns there.
There we go. That's what we like to hear.
Me like saying something that is very authentic to me, I'm also putting a clear message and signal out there to all the other people that play the long game, because that's who our clients are. They know that You're not going to get overnight $1 million successes like the garbage you read online.
Right.
Marketing and technology is a long-term investment, and you get amazing returns. Like our clients get 3 to 5x return on ads, and by the end of the year one, and year 2 and 3, they're getting 8, 10x. Like, it's because we teach them to play the long game. So now I'm opening my content saying, hey, Nathan, if you play the long game, why don't you check this out?
Right.
And then I can teach and educate. So that's, I know I kind of went a little bit longer there, but that's kind of like
That's
where I'm
wonderful.
at in my journey with like figuring out how do I focus content that's really useful and helpful and not get too off track where like I want to talk about all the random things I'm excited about. I'm actually putting content out that's focused and serving people, and it is written to a specific person. And I will choose different people kind of in my mind of like, oh, I'm going to write for this client or this client. But I now have this focused frame in the series I'm doing of like, if you want to play the long game, here's something I learned. And this is like literally from my hard-earned lessons or successes or plenty of failures.
Right, yeah, and that's all of us, Gabe. That's what's so beautiful about it is you're speaking to so many people. Like it's a niche of people that are like following you and pay attention to your content, but it's stuff we all experience. Not even just as like business owners or entrepreneurs, but as people. You know what I mean? Because that's what really brings us together is like connecting on that humanity level. And I thought
Yeah.
something you said is really important is like build and tying into the overarching theme today, building authority doesn't happen overnight. Just like being consistent on social media or anything we've talked about doesn't happen overnight. It takes consistent effort and a commitment to providing value to people. And so I
Yeah.
wanted to dive into a little bit about how we do that with one of our services called a marketing growth map, because we absolutely love the long game, but you have to start somewhere, right? And not a lot
Yeah.
of people in the world of business and marketing know where to start. So I wanted to pick your brain a little bit about how we're able to serve people with those types of marketing growth map and getting started on consistency.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we get to work with so many different types of businesses and different business stages, and when our clients are more more established, they're a few years in and they're ready to invest, then we have bigger managed services levels and big things we get to do. But even when a client's just in a season where they're pivoting the business and it's not wise to say, oh, I want to follow a plan for a year or two,
Mm-hmm.
there are times to do that. And what I love about the marketing growth maps that we do with our clients is that we sit down and say, let's just identify the next 3 major milestones that if you accomplish those in your business, you'll have momentum. And then it'll be time most likely to say like, all right, now I can choose a consistent path or I can invest longer. But with our marketing growth map process, um, you you have the ability to come in and meet with our team that works on with startup phases to multi tens of millions of dollars of business clients, and you get the same level of expertise. And we're going to say, we're going to help you understand, where is your market at today, where's your business, what's the next 3 big steps, the 3 big leverage points while we move forward. So one client that we got to work with realized that she loves doing social media, she's getting consistent, but she felt like, man, my content could be a little more polished, I could have better intros, outros, I could like have some better templates for social media and for videos. And so we're able to create an asset for her that she'll use, for years to come. It'll, and that was the next major, leverage point in her business. And then there
Yeah.
was a couple other big milestones. And so it's a great process where we can meet you where you're at. We can cover the important kind of market research and steps to take. And then you get to be in control, as always, of like what makes sense to invest in this season and how do we build that momentum and give you the consistency and start attracting more clients, and start having technology that works the way it should for you.
Yeah, and one of the big ways we show up and serve folks with that marketing growth map is we're able to, like we talked about earlier, we're able to cut the noise and just get that initial hurdle taken care of, because so many people are climbing up the mountain knowing they need help with marketing, knowing they need technology support, knowing they need help with implementation, whatever it might be. We take a look at where their business is at and what their goals are and what they have already created and moving for them. And then we take and present a couple of real world actionable steps that we can help them with to just get the ball rolling. And that
Yeah.
has really provided such an amazing impact and momentum for business to sometimes graduate even into full scale year long marketing campaigns that can get that 3 to 5x return on ad spend in that first year. And so
Yeah.
it's a beautiful process that we're able to, like you said, serve multi-million-dollar corporation level businesses all the way down to, I just have an idea, right?
Yeah.
And we've had businesses like that this year that are like, I have an idea, I'm ready to invest and get the ball rolling, but I need some help. And so that's how we show up and serve those people. And like you said, you get the same level of expertise of people who have worked with these multi-million dollar companies for your idea, for your passion, for your dream project. And so I just
Yeah,
think it's beautiful.
that's what
Um,
I. Yeah, because it's the same people. Our team has seen hundreds and hundreds of campaigns and technology solutions and mobile apps and websites and projects. And wherever you're at, you get to leverage that experience and get guidance from people that are really just here to serve you and make you successful and empower you in your business. And so, yeah, I'm so glad the team came up with this and we launched it this year, and it's been serving
yeah.
so many people. It's awesome.
It's stuff we've done for almost 20 years, right? We've just condensed it into something that's really, really accessible and actionable for small to medium sized businesses, or even just in that idea phase, which we love working with people like that because they're so passionate, they're so driven, and they just need a little boost. They need some help, they need support. And that's what we provide, is that world class level leadership that is able to guide them on those first few steps for marketing, and then eventually get the ball really rolling into these like high converting marketing campaigns we do. So I love it.
Yeah.
But one thing you mentioned apps, right? And so of course we have to talk about a win because we've been so busy in this quarter. But we actually just recently we're wrapping up the first phase of a mobile app project where we made this really really cool app that's really sleek and mobile friendly, showcasing their brand while making things smooth and engaging for their customers. I wanted to pick your brain a little bit about like, can you tell me a little bit more about BME's past success with not only building apps for this client, but our clients in the past, and why it's so important?
Yeah, I mean, people might get tired of hearing it, but it's a foundational thing that we'll always talk about. And it's
Yep.
like we start with the market research, like who's going to use this? Like,
Yeah.
what problem are they trying to solve? What value are you going to deliver? And we start with market research because if we're dealing with, an aging demographic, there's going to be different design. If we're
Yeah.
targeting, people your age, Nathan, who are a little bit younger than me, then we're going to design things a little bit differently. And like, what's the outcome? What's the business case? What's the use that you want? And so we start with market research, and then our marketing strategists, our design and copy team, our technology folks, they all come together and collaborate and say, okay, we need this big outcome. What's the most user friendly way to do it? What's going to be the most engaging way?
Yeah.
How do we guide somebody through? So, like in this app, there's educational things on how to use our client's product. There's actual tracking for like some health and fitness
So
benefits that
cool.
they
Yeah.
accomplish. There's ways to connect with the company and get support. There's ways to keep track of like where the company's going to be physically at events. Like it's this hub of information. And the previous version of their app they had, was okay for 3 or 4 or 5 years ago for the stage of business they're at. But now they've grown so much and their customer base is growing and they're doing so much more as a company that now they wanted this to have this app to be a central hub for how they interact and serve their customers. And one really cool thing that I was remind people with an app is when you get that icon on somebody's phone, you own some digital real estate that they're going to see all the time.
Yeah.
You can get more interaction and you can send push notifications. You can start to have more real-time conversations with your customers, and that's what's amazing about building apps. And I absolutely love what the team put together. It's beautiful. Super proud of it, and I'm excited because it'll be launching later this year. We just finished a major design phase in the first, tech architecture in it, and so when it comes out later this year, it'll be awesome.
Yeah, I love what you said. It's like a quote from a show or something. It's free real estate, you know what I mean? So that's our little marketing brains are always working along. Of course, it's going to be very good for implementation and everything that we're doing it for. But that's something to remember from a marketing perspective too. That little icon reminds them of the brand every single time. And some people
Yep.
even throw it on the home screen. You know what I mean? Whether you're using Apple or Android, you can do that. And so I just love that. That's awesome. And so. Guys, thanks for joining us again today. This has been such a fun episode, Gabe. Guys, if you like the video, throw it a thumbs up for us. It really helps us out a lot. And if you'd like, go ahead and subscribe over there on YouTube. We put out a new episode every Friday, folks, and we love hanging out, learning more about what you guys do, and sharing some marketing tips with you. And then again, if you want a team of marketing experts working around the clock for your business, there will be a link in the description below where you can book a call with me and I can talk about, what challenges you've been facing and what we've been doing in the marketing world. And then lastly, if you guys would like to join our free newsletter, there will be a link below for that as well, where we share awesome tips like we do today, and you can check that out weekly. But Gabe, thank you for joining me again, and we will see you all next Friday.
See you, everyone.
Bye-bye.